When I was a kid, I used to love those. Anybody read Richard Scarry? You ever have those books for your kids, cartoon books? There was a story called Chicken Little. This isn't part of the sermon. You ever noticed how horrifying as an adult a lot of these fairy tales and stories are, right? They don't bug the kids. What do you say to kids? What is the prayer everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people teach their kids? Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. What's the rest?
If I die before I
wake. I don't know about you, I don't know many 80-year-olds who say, if I die before I wake. You're kind of going, please don't. Chicken Little. Chicken Little is walking through the woods. An acorn falls from a tree, hits Chicken Little on the head. She immediately says, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, I have to go and tell the king. And along the road she meets a cast of characters. Henny Penny, Turkey Lurkey, Goosey Lucy, and Foxy Loxy. The picture of Foxy Loxy, I love. He had a salt and pepper shaker and a string around his neck, hanging there. Kind of tells you to stay away from Foxy Loxy, but everybody was in a hurry to go and see the king and tell him that the sky was falling. The last two pictures are this. The second last is Foxy Loxy laying under a tree with a big distended belly because he'd eaten everybody else. And then the last picture is a picture of the king, happy, with a big smile on his face, flying a kite from the wall of the castle. And it said, and no one was there to tell the king that the sky was falling. Because the message of the story, of course, is the sky was never falling in the first place. I was watching, I don't know where Sherry is, but we were watching, I don't know, it was Netflix or Crave or some other garbage channel, and I have to multitask, otherwise I get too depressed at what Hollywood's putting out. So I'm reading different, and I said to her, can you pause that for a second? I said, I'm just going to read you the first 5 headlines of today's, weekly roundup. Here they are, because I remember them. This is Friday. The first one was, NASA detects an unidentified flying object circling the sun. That's the first one, right? So aliens is your first. The second one, scientists, and these are like the Gilligan's Island professor, white cloak, anonymous scientist that thought thalidomide was a good idea. Scientists, right? Just scientists. Scientists say that the Earth's atmosphere is escaping into space. Third one, scientists, presumably the same scientists say that all the major currents of the ocean are reversing. Sort of like reversing falls when you go to New Brunswick, right? Reversing. So good news, wall to wall. And then we'll say to ourselves, do you realize that half the kids out there are taking antidepressants and anxiety medication? I didn't have to take antidepressants and anxiety medication when I was a kid. You ever realized, as you get old, I'm 58, so I'm sort of, I got a few years left, I think. I got some years behind me. I've come to realize all the younger generations are stupid and lazy, right? Because my dad, who was born in 38, used to tell me how stupid and lazy my generation was. I think the oldest of us here is probably in their 90s, so let's say 90, born in what? My math's not good, 35. Do you realize your parents and grandparents around about 1955 looked at you and said these words? I weep for the future. These kids today with their Ed Sullivan and their Elvis and their gyrating hips, we grew up without a television, without radio, without electricity. These kids today are spoiled. Do you realize what a burden all of you were to your parents? Today I've noticed one thing. We have this existential dread. Oh, the Trump tariffs are going to, the economy's going to be ruined, my pension plan's going to be gone. You know what? If Poilievre gets in, it's the end of democracy. But on the other hand, if Mark Carney gets in, it's the end of democracy. Do you know what your single biggest threat is? All of you right now. And this is statistically true. Where is Ryan? Ryan's right there. Your biggest fear should be, if you were thinking about statistics, driving from here to Carling Avenue. If you sport parachute on the weekends, every weekend, you are under more threat driving to the airport than you are jumping out of the plane. But we've convinced ourselves it's all over. It's the last generation. Kids today, can you imagine when we're older, they're going to be the ones making the decisions? Oh, they can't. The last good generation was my generation. You know what? I can't retire. There's no one to replace me. I have to keep working. The entire system will collapse the second myself and the other people of my generation are gone. That has never been true. Never been true. Let me tell you something. If there's one message of the gospel, and Easter Sunday is the day to proclaim it, it's to have no fear. The reason Christ did what he did, died on the cross and died, didn't pretend to die, wasn't asleep and pretending, dead. So that when he came back, he could say to all of us legitimately, I am the master of life and death. And if you follow me, nothing will snatch you from the palm of my hand. You're going to hear rumors of wars and economic catastrophes. Friends, when has that ever been true? 1983, do you remember The Day After? Do you remember that movie came out? They put the most awful stuff on television. They would let kids watch this, right? It was the nuclear war. James Robart, End of the World. I went to school the next day. I think it was in grade 10 or grade 11, right? Or we're all going to die. Guess what? It never happened. Duck and cover, didn't need it. It was fine. You didn't need to protect yourself with that 3/4-inch pine desktop in your classroom that would protect you from a 5 megaton bomb. Didn't need it, thank God. That would have worked. Never happened. In the last century, we've survived the war to end all wars. 22 years later, the largest war in human history. Economic catastrophes. Great recessions. We're all still here. The biggest fear is fear itself. Do not worry. I want you to remember that this life here is simply transitory. And our eternal life that we always talk about as if it's sometime in the future has already started. Your eternal life is right now. And when we talk about Christ crucified, died, and risen from the dead, that's already occurred. Our salvation has already occurred. So please, honestly, do not worry. There are going to be difficult times in your life personally, as a country, and as a world. But when has it ever come to complete and utter disaster? Never. As difficult as things have been, it has never been yet. And it never, ever will be. You guys are all looking at me. I just killed all the energy. What happened? I'll tell you what. Let's buoy ourselves up with an anthem. Here we go.